here's what I've been doing. I have had some deli paper. I used alcohol inks on it just because I never had and I wanted to see what would happen, and really not too much happened. I did blow on it with the straw, you know, dripped it around and stuff, used some of the blending solution, but you know, it's not quite as much fun as if you use Yupo paper or something like that. So then what I did was I was trying to use up some of my Luminart silk paints, and that were just down to the bottom, and I just didn't want to let them dry up on their own. So I went over the alcohol ink with the white, I can't remember what color it is, and I threw away the thing. So anyway, but so you can still see through it, and I thought, well, circles might be cool, I can use those for something, but I almost like the backs better than the fronts. You know, there's the back, there's the front. You can see there's a sheen, which is cool, but I almost like this, I don't know, and it just feels so much thicker, and ooh, I'm just loving touching them. Anyway, on this one, I first used an embossing folder. You can see the pattern. And then what I learned a while back is, like, if you emboss something on deli paper, especially because it's very thin, and then you go to use a wet medium over it, it tends to relax it and flatten it out. And so, you know, that kind of defeats your purpose of embossing. So, so what I did was I used some Distress ink. I used the Worn Lipstick Tim Holtz Distress ink, and kind of, you know, lightly went around over the embossing. And then I used some chalk ink, Color Box chalk ink, and just did some certain areas. And then I thought, well, that looks pretty, and so I wanted to emboss it. I don't know if you can see that shimmer, shimmer sparkle. So I used some embossing ink, and then I went over it with some holographic, Ranger holographic embossing powder. And when you're heating it up on deli paper, you have to be careful, because it will start to smoke. It's not nearly as sturdy as, you know, as regular paper. So there's that to consider. This was deli paper that I just was wiping my brush on as I was painting on something else. And you know, I hate to waste anything that has paint on it, so I just used one of my die cuts to cut some flowers. So that's acrylic paint. Acrylic paint and some watercolor that's not mixed with water. This one I just did a sheer sheet. Well, here, let me show you first. Okay, this is the piece of paper that I cut these out of. I'm sure I could fit them all back together if I had to. Anyway, and so I thought, well, I'm not going to get rid of this because this is kind of cool to put on a background or something. So saving that. So I had then used all silk acrylic paints to color this whole sheet, and I did stripes. I had done a weaving technique on another project, but I just thought these stripes were so bitchin' cool. And so I die cut the circles out, and I'm just loving these circles for sure. But I'm also loving this, so I'm definitely going to use this. I could just see this on a journal page and then put some little things in the middle, pictures or little, I don't know, whatever I think of to put on there. Anyway, so loving that. So we've got alcohol inks, we've got silks, acrylics, we've got embossing with Distress ink, and then embossing powder. We've got acrylic paints just on a drop sheet. I have another one. This is just a plain deli that I put in an embossing folder, put it through an embossing folder, and I just love this. I love to touch it. Feels so awesome. here is, let's see, what did I do? Oh, I did a page that I used this same embossing. Then I went over it with some, what did I use? I used just some stamp pad ink, some chalkboard, some tumbled glass, and let's see, I used the worn lipstick, distress ink. I used, here's what I used: worn lipstick, tumbled glass, and peacock feathers. So I went over a sheet just like this with those colors, and then I put them through the die cut to make some of these flowers. And if you put it through the die cut after you've embossed it, it's not quite as embossed, which, you know, you should expect that, right? So anyway, I don't know what I'll do with this, but I still do like the color, so I'm not throwing that away yet. Anyway, so let me show you the page I did that uses the papers, the flowers that I cut out of this, and it's right here. This is in my art journal because I'm also involved in a thing called Journal 52, which is a page a week for 52 weeks, and I'm currently 5 weeks behind. Anyway, so this is that journal page, and here's one of the flowers that I put in the page. Here's a tiny one, little tiny one. Here's one of the others. And then there's another one over here. And so they really look like they just kind of fade into the background. Hi, I am back with the page I created using deli paper. A lot of deli paper. Mostly deli paper. So I'll just give you a quick walkthrough of what I did. I first gessoed my pages, as always. Then I used some of the watercolor paints that came in the Art Journal Starter Kit, and I used the blue and the green, clearly. So what I did first was I just took my paintbrush and just did a really thin layer of water on the tops. Then I did the blue, a little touch of blue on there, and then spread that around. Same thing I then did with the green, and I only did about this much because I knew I was going to cover this bottom part. So that's the background pretty much. And then I decided I wanted to use my painted deli papers to make flowers. So I combined, this one's the silks, and then this is the one with my drop sheet that had acrylic paint on it. And then I just added some little brads that I had in my stash because I'm trying to use my stash. So basically I just used different configurations. I had these you know, little flowers. I have you know, like probably most of you, a whole mass of flowers. And so I thought I could use these to layer. And in my art journals, you know, I don't do anything too super thick, but I do like dimension. So I did this, you know, and I did the glass bead gel on the last one, but I just try not to get anything too thick. Like I do on my scrapbook pages. I like to do thick on there, but on here it makes my art journal just too crazy. So anyway, I'm digressing. Then I used deli paper that I had put through an embossing folder, and with like the honeycomb kind of pattern. Then I was in an embossing mood because I had been doing some embossing on the deli paper earlier. And here's one of the alcohol ink ones that I went back and I just used embossing powders, and then I put clear UT over it, and so it really has just a cool feel now. But anyway, I was experimenting with that. So as I was doing that, I went ahead and I did some really bright colors on the honeycomb, and I've, you know, made paper beads in the past, so I have lots of colors of embossing powder. So anyway, I did that, And I just thought it looked so colorful and wonderful that I'd make it the foreground. And then I had a butterfly that was from the kit this month, and so I just kind of colored it with some more muted colors, and then put a little glossy elements over it. And then I had some rub-ons, really colorful rub-ons that I've had for several years. Well, your rub-ons can get too old to use. And so what I did was I was trying to put down one, and just parts of it were going down. So then I thought I kind of liked that look. So I decided to just take the rub-on and I just rub whatever would come off of it. And I just put it around, and it has kind of a cool little layering effect. And then the last thing I did was I have a couple colors of Glimmer Glam. And I love this stuff, but I forget about it in my drawer. And so I just thought it would be kind of fun to add a little sparkle to this background, because I did have some holographic sparkle on this bottom part too. So this is the Tide Pool Glimmer Glam, and I'll see if I can get the little shimmer, but it just adds a really cool little sheen to the back. And so I think it turned out to be a fun flowery page. And my little sentiment that I put on there says, "Today I'm going to be amazing." And so that's the page I did for this time. And as I said, mostly a lot of deli paper, deli, and watercolors from the kit. So go out and do something funky and have fun with your art journal. I'll see you next time. Adios.